Okay, I've got a little bit of a scoop for you here. I'm joined by the renowned Martin Wallace, and we have a new game that you're working on, Martin. It's called Runestones. What can you tell us about it?
This is a game I've been working on this probably over 5 years now, on and off. And the key concepts I started with, I wanted the anti-fantasy flight game. Yes. So I wanted a game that rather than having lots and lots of different components in it, just had one type of component, which basically is a domino-style piece. Yes. Okay, so every player's got their own set of domino-style pieces, and those are multifunctional. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I'm trying to keep the components as clean as possible.
Yeah.
So what you have here is a fantasy war game for potentially up to 2 to 6 players, depending on how the Kickstarter goes, because the extra players will be, the extra races will be stretch goals. Yeah. But what you have is you have 6 distinct races. So you've got the red guys here, which they have dragons, and then you've got purple that have got zombies, you've got the humans who've got extra leaders, and you've got the Viking type people with ships, you've got the giants who are good at building castles, and then you've got the kind of chaos horde who are just good at running around everywhere and burning things down. So you've got this 6 the asymmetric forces, each one that plays in a very different way.
So mechanically, how does it kind of work?
Well, what you have is, to say, each player's got their own set of pieces. You basically shuffle them up, put them in a draw pile, and then you draw a hand of 6. And so the nice thing is, because they're tiles, they stand up on their side. Right. Okay, so you can see your 6 tiles. Okay, so each tile has got 3 pieces of information. So for instance, this is a dragon unit. So in the left here, it tells you the build cost. So if I want to put this on the board, I've got to chuck away 2 of my other tiles from my hand. Okay? Then when it's on the board, it becomes a dragon. Then, and each, there's a range of different units. So there's infantry, skirmishers, castles, orcs, and whatnot. And then on the right, you have a pip value. Now, pips are used to pay for movement, to pay for building villages. They can be used in combat, and they can also be used for pillaging. So the thing is, when you put a tile on the board, that means that's no longer in your tile cycle. So it's a bit like a deck. It's kind of, you're gaining in one sense, but you're losing in another way. Yeah. So that's the tough decision you've got to make. It's like, what do you keep back to use to pay for movement, to use in combat? What do you put on the board? Yeah. Combat, as I say, so most of the actions are kind of building units, moving units. Combat also uses tiles. Wow. So, as I say, as much as possible, I want everything to be the same type of component. Mm-hmm. So whoever's got the biggest stack of units draws 4 tiles. Whoever's got the smaller one draws 3. And then you're only ever using the best 3. And then, so the attacker has the option to substitute. So if they got a really bad draw, they might go, well, I'm going to substitute one of the pieces from my hand. And then the other player, similarly, likewise, can substitute one. So you've got that really tough decision. It's like, yeah, I've got a fairly good score. So do I waste a piece to add to it, or do I take a chance that my numbers are good enough to beat the other person? Yeah. So it is a very stressful combat thing. It's but different from a standard roll the dice kind of thing. Yeah. There's a very much an element of poker in it. Reading the other person. Do they look nervous? Are they sweating? Or do they look overly confident? Are they?
You want to find out what their tell is.
Yeah. So, and eventually, what you're trying to do is score victory points by getting your villages on the board. That's the main way of scoring victory points. But the problem is, if you get your villages down, then they become targets. Yes. Because you can also pillage people's villages. So it's kind of an area control game in the sense that you need to create a defensible area. So you're both defending your places and then also seeing if you can pillage your opponent's places, so whether you can get into there.
Martin, it sounds incredible. Have you got a time scale for going to Kickstarter with it yet?
I'm aiming for November this year. So yeah, I'm going to be showing it here. I'm going to be showing it in Gen Con. I'm going to be showing it at Essen, just kind of build up. And then, hopefully November. But,
Fantastic. Can people find you on Facebook or a website or something?
I've just got a website going, which is wallacedesigns.com.au. So there's a little bit of information up there. Yeah. I'll be putting some stuff on BGG soon. I'm terrible with social media, so I'll have to get one of my friends to do a Facebook thing.
No problem.
Rubbish and that kind of thing. So I will be putting information out there over the next month or so.
Well, Martin, we'll keep in touch as well and try and get the news out to our viewers as well. Martin, look, thank you so much. It looks fascinating. Okay, guys, runes.